Now you probably can guess the benefits of account-based marketing, but we'll briefly touch on that. The time, effort, resources that your marketing and sales team are going to be spending is extremely targeted. You have very little wastage because they're looking at the qualified accounts, people that you know can buy from you. And you know who you're talking, who's the decision maker that you're talking, whether the person you're talking to is a decision maker or is a influencer. Do they have buying power? Can they make that decision? They can't. You know all that information. So many times it happens that you go through a buying cycle and at the end you submitted the proposal. What you realize is that the person that you've given the proposal does not have decision-making power. Now that person has to go sell to the decision maker, which they most likely can't make as good of a sale as you can, who've been practicing your pitch for whatever period of time is. So it's extremely targeted. On average, it increases the B2B contract value. So Topo did a study, it increases by 171%. And one of the main reasons it does that is because of the land and expand concept. So in a lot of situations in ABM, you have a foot in the door offer where you go in and you bring in a customer at a low value. And then what you do, you strategically plan how can you expand that account. So when I say strategically, I understand some people will say, yeah, we already do that. We run we do a pilot and then we say, the pilot went well, let's do a bigger project. That's correct, that is already done. But this is marketing coming in, immediately creating collateral, looking at all the different departments that you can leverage, creating testimonials from that department, showing it to other departments, so doing all of that strategically, rather than a little bit ad hoc and hey, we did a good job, can we do a bigger deal? So it's a lot more strategic, and therefore it increases the B2B contract value that you get. Higher close rates, because again, with leads, when you think about leads, you're working with one person, right? There's one lead, and yes, there are other people that would come in that you would interact with, but with account-based marketing, what you do is in your strategy, in your marketing strategy, in your sales strategy, you take all those 6 or 7 other people into consideration. You create messages for them. You make sure their concerns are addressed. A CFO, when you're selling cloud solutions, a CFO's concern is a lot different than the CEO. When you're selling, let's say you want to increase traffic for venues, right? Restaurants and hospitality. The concern of a IT, and you have a technology product, the IT guy at the hotel is different than the concern of the marketing manager than it is the concern of the owner. You gotta answer those differently. What you realize in account-based marketing, there are different categories. Usually IT, finance and marketing are detractors. They're people that if you don't get their buy-in, they're going to say, nah, let's not go after that. I don't think we should do this. And you might convince the CEO, you might very well lose the deal because the IT is not behind you. Because the IT guy is going to say, they're not familiar, this is something new that you're introducing, they're worried about their job, am I going to lose my job, is it going to disrupt, is it going to increase my workload? They're going to go to the boss and say, oh, I don't think this is the right thing. And guess what? Most of the times the boss is going to listen to one of the staff because what he thinks is if I bring this on board, alienate this guy, it's not going to be even implemented properly, we're not going to go anywhere. With account-based marketing, you take all of those into consideration, all those objections. Therefore, your deals move faster through the pipeline. And lastly is the marketing and sales alignment. This is really big in B2B businesses. Marketing produces leads, sends it to sales. Sales says that the leads are not qualified. they're they're too small, they're not the right fit. Marketing turns and says sales can't do their job properly. They're not calling them on time. There's always conflict between these two departments, especially as you start to grow bigger. Marketing and sales, and I'll give an example of a campaign later on, and it shows you how these two teams, and executive team as well, have to be aligned for these kind of campaigns to work. Do we agree on that one? This didn't. I should have said another line. I forgot about it. So this didn't work. But there's one other benefit that I kind of forgot to mention. And one of the really awesome things about account-based marketing is that you connect your marketing to your revenue. This is a challenge. Some of you might have heard people say, 50% of my marketing is working, but I'm not sure which 50%. Right? That's a saying. And in the recent years, there has been elements that has reduced that gap. You have attribution analysis that you monitor. This lead looked at this page first, and then they came and filled this form, and then they downloaded this white paper. So we know this is their trajectory, but it's still not there. That gap still exists. That you don't know what exactly got this person to convert. The beauty with account-based marketing is that you say, I want to close this 50 accounts. Let's make it easy for the math. I want to close 100 accounts, and I'm going to spend $100,000 on this marketing campaign. And you go through that process and you close 10 of those. And that 10 brings $1 million. So now you immediately know that I spent $100,000, I got 10 clients. That means that every single client is costing me $10,000. So in theory, if I put $10,000 in, I should be able to get $100,000 out. So $1 million divided by 10, right? So it becomes, because your accounts are very clear, when they close at the end, you know which campaign they came from. Yes, you will monitor that process of what happened in between, but for the very early stage, you don't need to be bothered with that stage in the middle. 100 accounts I've targeted, 10 of these that are on that list converted. I can connect that money really easily to one another. So that's one of the beauties of account-based marketing, that you can very easily connect those two.